Riley Sadler, and this is the Washington Times Politically Unstable. Today, I'm joined by the chicks on the right, Amy Jo Clark and Miriam Weaver. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk the transgender mania. Basically, you had Simone Biles, who's an Olympic gold medalist gymnast, kind of weigh in on the transgender debate over the last few days, taking on Riley Gaines. And Riley Gaines went on social media in Minnesota. There was a recent softball championship that was won by a male pitcher, basically, who just threw shutouts. And the team was celebrating, and she said, basically something to the effect, well, no wonder they won. They had a boy on their team, Riley Gaines did. To which Simone Biles, and I will just read what she responded to Riley Gaines. She said, "You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race, straight up loser." Riley Gaines obviously went to stardom after losing to Leah Thomas.
She tied.
Yeah,
she actually tied. Right.
Oh, well, so she won.
She tied.
Yeah.
Well, she tied. She tied with the man, which I think is pretty impressive. But yeah, people will say I think the narrative is that she lost, but she actually tied with Leah Thomas.
All right. Yeah. So Simone Biles gets that wrong right out the gate.
Yeah.
And she said, you should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports, maybe a transgender category in all sports, but instead you bully them. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around. You guys, Amy Jo, like what is going on here?
Well, she completely ruined her legacy, first of all. I'm not sure where this outburst comes from, but yeah, she lost a lot of people who really liked her, and she had a wonderful legacy. She is a fantastic gymnast, but she lost a lot of girls who looked up to her and a lot of mothers of girls. I happen to be a mother of a female athlete, and a lot of girls who looked up to her were like, wow, this is super disappointing. So, and it is, because, she's one of those who's in a sport where this hasn't affected gymnastics, this whole transgender mania. And also, she's one of those athletes who has made it. She's made a ton of money, and then she's pulling that ladder up behind her, kind of like the Megan Rapinos, the Martina Navratilovas, all of those women who are like, it doesn't affect me, so what do I care? She's become one of those.
Well, Miriam, there was a USA Today columnist over the weekend who defended Simone, saying it was great that she was standing up for the trans community. And celebrated her post. I mean, and after she made this post, Riley Gaines responded and said, you can advocate for whatever you want to. I'm not here to tell you what your politics should be. I just stand for women competing against women in sports. And then Simone body shamed Riley Gaines, basically saying like you could compete with people your own size, which are male. And Riley Gaines is a beautiful, beautiful woman.
And she's 5'5", 135 pounds. She's not built like a man. And Simone went through this whole thing a few years ago, doing a whole body positivity, campaign, because she was tired of facing bullying for her own muscular build. So the fact that she's now going after Riley's body is crazy. And so I was glad to see Riley call her out in the way that she did, and also to resurrect some old tweets of Simone completely countering what she used to believe about men participating in women's sports. But it's like Amy Jo said, now that she's done competing, it's very easy for her to just be like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine for men to be invading women's spaces.
But Amy Jo, this is an 80-20 issue where even the majority of Democrats believe that female athletes shouldn't be competing against biological males. I think the New York Times in February had a poll out that they did where they found that 79% of respondents said it was unfair. And I think over 67% of Democrats agreed. So why is the left clinging to this topic? Why didn't they let it go in 2024 when Kamala Harris, the biggest ad against her that changed the most minds was when Donald Trump said, she's for they, them, I'm for you.
Probably because he is against it. And so they're going to cling to it because it's something that he says I'm against. So they're like, well, we're for it because that's what Democrats, whatever he says, they're going to do the opposite, right? I honestly can't believe that it's an 80-20 thing.
Mhm.
This to me is this is such common sense. You don't want boys in girls' spaces. Like what kind of madness is this? I just feel like this is something you think that all of us would be unified about. And you do not see girls going into boys' sports. You don't see girls or women going into men's sports and trying to compete, because this is a cheating issue. This is about subpar, and it could be a fetish issue too. We could get on that subject, but I think it's really at the bare bones of this is these are subpar male athletes who suck at their given sports, and they're like, how can I get better at this? How can I be good at this? How can I get accolades and be considered a hero and be considered a winner when I suck normally? So they go into the women's sports and then they dominate. Because in the case of Leah Thomas was what, like 300 something ranked as a man? I mean, he was terrible. And so then he gets into women's. I mean, he tied with Riley, but he ended up being number one. And it's like that's your reason. That's your reason here. This is why you do not see this happening in the flip.
Yeah.
You don't see women going into men's sports. It's just, this is such common sense. I don't see why everybody can't see this.
Well, but Democrats do this on every issue, right? I mean, they take the 20% on almost every issue without fail.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and this is why they're struggling.
Well, I mean,
this is why they're on.
But that's also been the genius of Donald Trump is everyone, the left anticipated, oh, he's going to rule with an iron fist. He's going to be alt-right. But no, he's taking common sense issues that are actually very unifying, advocating for them. And the left has put themselves in the position of having to defend the indefensible, like criminal, illegal gang members that beat up their wives. If we're gonna talk about that, but I want to stay on this transgender issue because the president did in February issue an executive order barring states from allowing biological males to compete with women. But we're seeing blue states defy this executive order. The state of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, who is the AG there, has sued the Trump administration to protect the trans athletes. You have Gavin Newsom in California, who had a podcast with Charlie Kirk, the conservative podcaster, and said that he thought it was deeply unfair for men to be competing against women. But at the track and field competition just a few weeks ago, A.B. Hernandez, a biological male, beat out women in two events. You have the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, who went to the White House and told Donald Trump to his face that she would not be enforcing this executive order. And now the state is under DOJ investigation for Title IX. But like, Miriam, why is this the hill to die on with Democrats?
It's amazing to watch because, like we already pointed out, they're always choosing to defend the indefensible. And so why they consistently want to fight Trump on every single issue, it just seems so counterproductive, considering that all they have to do is look at any polling to see where even their own side falls on most of these issues. Because again, 20% is like the fringe people who are actually supporting men invading women's spaces. And yet these Democrat mayors of these Democrat states, these Democrat strongholds, continue to play up to the most radical of their base, and it's going to hurt them. And so there's the part of me that finds it outrageous, but there's also the part of me where I'm like, just keep doing that because this works out well for us.
And they're also, they claim to be the party of women. Yeah. They're not the party of women. They're proving that time and time again. And this, I mean, in the case of, Riley Gaines, she's talked many times about how the NCAA made her go through sensitivity training before Leah Thomas came there. I find that completely absurd that girls had to go through sensitivity training to sort of be, they were groomed. It's grooming. It's what it is. If you want to just get down again to the bare bones of what it is, they were groomed to have men come into their locker rooms. And so that's what it is. And for some reason, Democrats, we went through that whole, the Me Too movement, everything with them. And then they don't see a problem with this. I find that really interesting, especially coming from Simone Biles, who went through the Larry Nassar thing. You think that she, of all people, would be standing up for women and would be standing up for women having their own spaces and being protected in their spaces, and girls being protected in their spaces against men coming into locker rooms being undressed, for crying out loud. But she's not. They're on the wrong side of history. This is that if they want to die on this hill, that it's like, like Miriam says, I just let them do it, I guess. It's absolutely staggering for me to watch them do this.
But Miriam, the thing that I find a lot in Amy Jo, you touched on this, was that all of the women that are forced to compete with these biological men, they're almost shamed into not publicly speaking about it.
Right.
A.B. Hernandez's mother basically was intimidating the other athletes, saying, you better stand on the podium with him. There were 2 females in Oregon at a track and field competition who refused to stand on the podium with the transgender biological male that they were competing against. And we're mocked. We're telling our girls not to speak out for themselves. I mean, isn't this like everything that we've worked to accomplish with Title IX, with women's rights? I mean, this is just a gigantic leap backward.
It is. And I'm so proud. Every time I see those girls push back in that way, they have huge courage, given that I think the saddest part is seeing A.B. Hernandez is there's one of his teammates who is a girl who supports him being, against her, in competition with her, which makes no sense. But it's also amazing to continue to hear from the left that this just isn't even a problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like every weekend we're finding out about another competition in which a biological male has had an advantage or has won in a competition. And the left continues to say, but this is just a tiny fraction. Well, how about we start paying attention to the majority, which are the actual biological girls, and get rid of the fringe? If it's such a tiny percentage, then we shouldn't mind removing them from the girls' sports.
It tracks though. It totally tracks. Yeah, the whole this isn't a problem. We heard that. How many years we heard that with the border? My God, we heard that for years. It's not a problem.
And Joe Biden's fine.
Right. It's on. Okay. Yeah.
He's the sharpest tool in the shed. He's running circles with the White House staff.
Absolutely.
For the last 4 years. I mean, but it is absolutely, it's mind blowing, but you're right. Jen Psaki got up and said, there is no problem with transgenders competing in women's sports. It only happened. There's only a handful of cases. We shouldn't be making such a big deal of this. You can't have it both ways. That is such a good point. But, Bill Maher has come out and basically said, we can't be focused. Democrats will lose every single election moving forward if we if we don't move away from this transgender issue. You have Rahm Emanuel, who is rumored to be running for president on the Democratic ticket for 2028.
Terrifying.
I know. But basically saying that these bathroom issues are so small, we got to focus more on, the issues that matter to everyone else. And we can't be pulled into these transgender issues. I mean, do you think that there might be a pivot from the Democratic Party? Because you have some within it that are speaking some sense.
No, I don't think they're going to pivot. I don't think they are. I think this has taken on such a life of its own. I mean, they are focused on this. They're always going to be focused on race. They're always going to be focused on, illegal immigration. These are the things that they are going to hang on to. I don't know why, but I don't think they're going to let go of them. And abortion, I mean, these are the things that they always will cling to, and it can't stop, won't stop.
And even the more reasonable among them, and I hate to even use that word close to the name Rahm Emanuel, but I mean, all things considered, he's less radical on these issues than some members of his own party. They will try to pretend as though they're more moderate on. I think the toothpaste is already out of the tube. I don't think they're like Amy Jo said, that it's an issue. They've made it an issue. And in order to continue to appeal to the loudest among them, they're going to this is going to be their issue. They're going to have to own it.
Right.
And we can't forget about their major donors, right? Planned Parenthood is a major donor to the Democratic Party, and abortion is their thing, but they've now shifted some of their services into gender affirming care, which is basically giving hormones and so since they're so entwined, the donors are so entwined with the progressives within the Democratic Party. This is something that I think the right is going to have to fight day in and day out, just to restore some common sense and to protect our youth, right? I'm raising 3 young boys who are just like, why is the world gotten so crazy? But we need to raise the next generation to know right and wrong and to feel solid within their own skin.
Well, we're on the right side of history, and so that makes it a lot easier to fight the fight.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both for joining me today. I really appreciated your time, and keep the message out there loud and strong. And for all of our viewers, please tune in to their podcast, Chicks on the Right. And thank you for coming to the Times today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.